up, guys? Welcome to the Son of Wonder. Secret Invasion Episode 4 has dropped, so let's conversationalize. Alright, guys, so the last episode took things in what I thought were a good few interesting directions, and I was intrigued, I was invested. We begin this episode, and it does stuff with the directions it was taking with things in the last episode, but not a ton. It doesn't do a ton. In fact, with one thing, it doesn't really do anything with it at all, hardly. So, at the end of the last episode, Gaia died, and I thought that was going to be a very big emotional punch for Talos. But right out of the gate, in this episode, it's revealed that she actually went to the Super Skrull machine and gave herself Super Skrull powers before she got shot by Gravik. So she has Extremis to heal herself, so she does come back to life. She is not dead, and I had heard stuff online that it made it seem like she wasn't dead, and it did seem weird that they would kill off this character that they've only just introduced into this show. At the same time, I do feel like it would have been more impactful maybe if she had actually died. I don't know. I just feel like there was some different things they could have done with it to make it more interesting. Instead, she just pretty much just comes back to life. She has a conversation with her dad later, because she does get away from the Skrull camp, and she has a meeting with her dad. He still wants the Skrulls to be able to coexist on Earth, and she's like, well, don't you want to live in your own skin? Like, live life looking like a Skrull and not having to be disguised as a human? Talos is more okay with that than she is, and she thinks her dad is full of it and walks away. I'm hoping that plot line leads to something good, some kind of genuinely good lesson to be learned out of this. But based on the way this episode ends, I'm not really sure where they're going. Anyway, another dangling thread from the last episode left was Fury's wife, Vara, got a gun and was scheduled to meet Rhodey in the next hour. And she gets to the church that they were supposed to meet at, and she and Rhodey have a talk. Rhodey's clearly a Skrull, so that is officially revealed in this episode that Rhodey is in fact a Skrull. Basically, Vara has been tasked with killing Fury. So apparently this was already pre-planned. Like, this was already up in the air. Like, Vara was supposed to kill Fury when he came back to Fury and her's house. And Skrull Rhodey basically tells her, if you don't kill Fury, we'll either kill you or kill him, but somebody's gonna die. And so she goes back to her house. Fury has put a bug, I assume, on Vara's phone. And so this was paid off, sort of, from the last episode. When Fury was looking at her phone in the last episode, I'm pretty sure at some point he bugged it. And so he heard everything that Skrull, Rhodey, and Vara were talking about. So he knows that Rhodey's a Skrull, and he knows that his own wife has decided to try and kill him. Yikes. And it seemed really weird to me that Vara would go from... Because they even have another flashback scene at the beginning of this episode, back in 2012, just after the first Avengers movie happened, where Fury goes to meet his wife, and they seem to really love each other. She says some nice things to him. But it's funny to me that she would go from that to... I mean, I get it. Fury left her for a very long time. When you count the blip and him leaving after the blip, wasn't a good idea. But how do you go from, oh, I love you so much, to, I'm going to kill you now? That's very, like, wow. He must have really hurt you when he left. Like, major.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
But Fury basically just cuts to the chase, and he's like, listen, I know you're about to kill me. You got a gun, so you're ready to kill me. And so he puts his gun on the table, and she puts her gun on the table. They both point the guns at each other and shoot, but they both miss on purpose. And there's this really funny line where Fury's like, I'm not sure if this means we should get a divorce or if we should renew our vows. And it ends on this weird note where she's like, his wife is like, would you have loved me if I stayed in my Skrull form? And he's like, well, I guess we'll never know. So I guess their relationship is put on hold at the moment. I don't really know. It didn't really feel like you don't really know what you're left with in regards to that storyline by the end of the episode. It kind of just stays stagnant. There's definitely tension there, but none of it feels resolved. And it might not feel resolved until the end of the series. I think the problem is this doesn't feel all that much like a step forward. And it's very sad because Fury clearly loved this woman. She apparently is with Gravik now, or at least was with Gravik, and he realizes that because she didn't kill him like Rhodey ordered, Rhodey and the evil Skrulls are going to be after her now. And he's like, what will you do? And she's like, well, I can take care of myself. So we'll see how that plays out. But I don't know if I was as invested in that whole plot line as I should have been. It didn't feel like a lot was gathered from it. Just like the Gaia thing. Also, clarification that I would like to make. Major goof on my part. The past two reviews, the review for Secret Invasion Episode 2 and the review for Secret Invasion Episode 3, I said in both of those reviews that Nick Fury's wife, Vara, was Gravik's mother. No. No. She is not Gravik's mother. Because I've been wondering this entire series, like, ever since she was introduced, like, when are they going to call back to the fact that she's Gravik's mom? I felt like the Lord kept telling me, fact check it. And I never fact checked it. And sure enough, I fact check it this go round, and she's not Gravik's mom. She introduces Gravik to Nick Fury back in the 90s, in the flashback at the beginning of the second episode, but she is not Gravik's mother, because she tells Fury that apparently Gravik's parents were killed in the war between the Skrulls and the Kree. So my whole theory about Nick Fury kind of being a father figure to Gravik, and that's why it's more personal between Gravik and Fury, that's why Gravik hates Fury specifically, that's basically out the window. That whole thing was rubbish. She's not Gravik's mom. I apologize. I am so sorry. Complete misinformation. Major goof on my part. Thoroughly apologize. But anyway, having realized that, I will say it does make the whole Gravik-Fury relationship a little bit more confusing now. Like, okay, so Fury never really would have been a father figure to Gravik. So why, in that case, then why does Gravik dislike Fury so much? Personally. Any more than the rest of the evil Skrulls. Because it seems like there's a personal vendetta that Gravik has against Fury. So I still don't really get that. But Fury goes to Rhodey's apartment, wherever Rhodey's staying. He breaks in, basically. And he, in his own way, reveals to Rhodey that Fury indeed knows that Rhodey's a Skrull. And Fury is trying to bargain with this Skrull, with Skrull Rhodey. He's telling him, I can keep the fact that you're a Skrull quiet, and the fact that you're, like, the president's advisor, and you're a Skrull, I can keep that quiet if you give me my job back. Which is really weird that he would bargain for his job, threaten Skrull Rhodey, basically, like, blackmail him just to get his job back. Like, it's funny to me that Fury wouldn't just real quick tell the president, oh, by the way, your guy's a Skrull. I mean, he's a super spy. Fury's a super spy. You figured he could do that. I didn't really get that. But then Rhodey kind of turns that blackmail back on Fury. Skrull Rhodey does. And he apparently has footage of Gravik transformed into Fury who killed Maria Hill. And he can send that to whoever he wants to incriminate Fury for killing Hill, even though that was Gravik and not Fury in the first episode. And so again, the situation really isn't resolved. Nothing really escalates. One thing that is accomplished, though, in this scene is Fury gets Skrull Rhodey to drink some alcohol that Fury got for him, and apparently the alcohol was like tracking liquid or something, which was a pretty nifty idea, and I did think that that was a good reveal. But Fury and Talos track Skrull Rhodey, and Skrull Rhodey is in a different car. His car is with the president's car, because the president has just arrived. Then Gravik attacks. And Gravik and his men are disguised as Russians, again, trying to incite World War III, build the tension between the Russians and the Americans. So they full on attack the president. And it's a big action sequence at the end of this episode, the biggest one we've gotten yet in the series, and yet it somehow didn't feel all that crazy. Like, there are helicopters being shot out of the sky, but something about it just felt like I've seen it 1,000 times. And I'm not super invested in all these characters and their different plot lines to be really caring about the action that's taking place. Contrast that with Mission Impossible that just came out, and the mortal opposite is true. Like, you care so much about the action because of the characters. And this show, I didn't really feel that way. But Gravik attacks, and Gravik starts using his Super Skrull powers in front of the Secret Service guys who are trying to protect the president. And it's weird to me that Gravik would go out of his way to disguise him and his Skrull goons as Russians just so he can use his superpowers and at least prove that they're not your average Russians. Gravik is clearly enhanced in some way, or at least he would appear so to these Secret Service guys. I don't really know what Gravik's logic there was, but Talos tries to save the president because the president has been flipped over inside his car and he's unconscious. Talos is trying to get him out of the car. Somebody shoots Talos. And so Talos is slowly reverting back to his Skrull form. And Talos is still able to break the window open so Fury can get the president. Fury gets the president, takes him to another car, and Fury looks behind him, and Gravik is now the one holding Talos. Fury has a gun pointed at Gravik, and he's like, "Put him down!" And Gravik, sure enough, stabs Talos. And it appears that he kills him. And then Fury shoots Gravik, but he's got the extremis, so it just heals the bullet wounds. And then Fury has to leave Talos behind so he can escape with the president. And that's the end of the episode. Very short episode, but it was just kind of underwhelming. Like, you built Talos and Fury's relationship up this entire series for him to just die like that? Which is why I don't fully believe that Talos is dead, because we ended the last episode with the main character dying, and at the very beginning of this episode, we retconned that. So, I don't believe Talos is dead. If he is, I'm going to be disappointed, because that feels like a very anticlimactic thing, or way to kill off his character. Because of all the Skrull characters, Talos was my favorite. And it was Talos and Fury's relationship that was by far the best part of this series to date. And if you eliminate that from the series, you're kind of just left with the rest of the stuff, which isn't nearly as interesting. So that's my take on it. I don't feel like a lot was really accomplished in this episode other than Talos' supposed death. I think they just don't do enough with certain plot lines that, like, oh, there was some really interesting ideas alluded to in the last episode, but they don't really go all that many places. So yeah, it's just overall, it just felt a little bit underwhelming. I'm hoping the series can pick it up in 5 and 6, in episodes 5 and 6. But at this point, I'm a little sour on the show overall. It just feels way too mid at this point. Way too middle of the road. Like, not nearly as good as it should be. And that's very annoying. Very frustrating. But I am deeply sorry for my goof. I'm deeply sorry. Fury's wife is not Gravik's mother. No. I blew it hard on that one, and I apologize. But thank you guys for watching. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. And that's a wrap.